What's in season? What's in season? What's in season? I hear you ask. Chard, everybody, or silver beet if you want to call it that, if you're in another part of the world. The part of the world I was originally from, we used to call it silver beet. So I've just been out in the garden, and one of the beautiful vegetables that's still available over the winter, mind you, some of this chard I have overwintered and over summered. This one in particular was in all summer and all winter, and it's still producing. It is the most amazing leaf that you can eat. I actually prefer it to spinach myself. I think it's got a lot more flavour to it, and it comes in an array of colours, golden, red. I've actually just planted some seeds of orange one as well, so that's going to be really exciting this year. So what am I going to do with it? I am going to make a tart, and in this tart we're going to have chard, we're going to have bacon, this is smoky bacon, bacon pieces, and we're going to have Gruyère cheese. Now, you could do it with cheddar, you could do it with an unsmoked bacon, you can do it with pancetta if you want. And the other thing that's really nice with this is I'm using these shallots. These are called eschalots, or banana shallots, and I think the flavour is much, much better than the little round shallots you can get. So that's the other thing that I'm using in this particular. Oh, and of course, the winter herb that is always there is thyme. So that's going in this as well. So for the tart, I suppose it's a quiche as well, if you want to call it that. We need a pastry, and to save time, I've actually whizzed up the pastry already. The pastry just consists of flour, butter and water. It's just, you know, a normal short pastry. And I've had it in the fridge, I would say, for about an hour now. To make this, it's really, really easy. It's 180 grams of plain flour. It is 90 grams of butter, and make sure that the butter's cold. I like to use salted butter, but you can use unsalted if you want to. And then you whiz that up in your food processor. Now, if you don't have a food processor, you have to get your hands into the bowl with the butter and the flour and just stand there for half an hour until it just resembles breadcrumbs. It's pretty easy to do. It's a good time of year to do this because you need cold hands. The butter will start to melt. And then when I whiz that up, I put in about 4 tablespoons of really cold water, and that's what you end up with, this here. Pop it in the fridge. This can be done ahead as well. You can do this a day ahead or 2 days ahead, so you've got the pastry ready. And we're going to roll that out in a minute. The other thing I realise I don't have is a tart tin with a bottom that comes off it. So I am going to make this up as I go along. And so what I've done is I've put a little bit of grease proof in the bottom of this. This is a 23 centimetres. And I've put some grease-proof paper in the bottom because I did make a tart not long ago and it got a little stuck. So that is that. All right, let's start cooking. So the first thing I'm going to do, after I've done the pastry, make sure you do your pastry first because you might want to do this all in one go. Do that first, put it in the fridge. And then here is 40 grams of butter. Again, I like to use salted butter, but you can use, some people like unsalted butter in savoury things. That's purely up to you. And then let this melt down. And once that has melted, then we pop in these shallots. So what I did was I took the skins off the shallots as you would an onion, and what have I done to the oven? Who knows? Let's hope it doesn't blow up. I sliced the shallot in half, and then I cut it very finely, or finely enough. These are going to go in here with my thyme. Now I've just cut my thyme back in the garden, so I only had some small, where's that going? Some smaller thyme, which is actually looking really, really nice. Look at it. That's beautiful. This is the old one that I've got, the old scabby one in the garden. But that's beautiful. So you really want about 3 sprigs like this of thyme. Anyhow, let's throw these in. And we like a lot of thyme, and thyme goes really well with chard because chard has that kind of irony taste. So let's throw them all in. So this goes in like that. You don't have to take the leaves off. And then we put this in. And then what I am going to do is I'm going to turn this down to low, so my flame is up quite high. I'm going to turn this down to low, and I'm going to let it fry for 15 minutes. All right, so while the shallots are cooking behind me, I thought I would roll out the pastry and pop it into the tin, because then I want to put it in the freezer and make sure that it's really cold and firms up. And you don't have to put it in the freezer, you can put it in the fridge, but I find that actually you kind of semi-freezing it, it is much better when you cook it in the oven. It stays together and it doesn't shrink. So I have rolled this out here. And look at this lovely sun coming through. It's about as thick as a £1 coin. But what you need to do is you just got to get your tin. Now this tin, like I said, is 23 centimetres in diameter, but you need quite high side. It needs to be about 5 centimetres. When I pop that on the top there, you can see that I'm going to have enough to come up the sides. If you don't, you have to keep rolling it. Then, I don't know whether you've done this before, but this is the easy way of doing it. Make sure there's enough flour underneath, otherwise you're going to stick. You just roll this up very gently, pop that there, and then with my overhang, I roll it back out, and I can see I need a little bit more on this side. There, that's it. Now, this is a fun part. A lot of people start squashing it in, but if you squash it in, you're going to tear the sides. What I do is I fold it in. There we are. And then I unfold it. And as you can see, we're down, we're right in the corners because I've folded it in. And now I start unfolding. I was reading a way of doing this pastry, and they were saying to, if you had any leftover pastry, to roll it up into a little ball and dip it into lots of flour and then pat it so that you don't tear it. But I'll say it again, I like to always feel what's going on, and I like to do it with my fingers. So I will continue doing this, and when we're done, I'm going to put it in the freezer. I'm going to leave all the overhang, pop it in the freezer. It really doesn't matter what it looks like on the inside. Look, if you see there, I've got creases here on the inside because nobody's going to see the inside of this tart. And I would rather have a little bit of creasing going on than holes. If you do get holes, if you do tear it, pull a little bit off the end here and patch it up. So that's just about ready. I'm just going to go around nicely, pop it in the freezer, and then I'll see you later. Look at the beautiful colour here of these shallots. Gorgeous. All right, so now I've just turned the heat up a little bit, and I'm going to add this bacon. This was just a pack of already chopped bacon that I had in the freezer, and it's smoked chopped bacon. So that goes in. I turn the heat up and I watch this carefully, and I fry this again for another 15 minutes, just so that the bacon cooks this time.
How much bacon?
200 grams of bacon. Thank you, Mr. N. So while the bacon is sizzling behind me, we're going to prepare the chard. So chard, it has a stalk and it has a beautiful leaf. For this particular recipe, I did deliberate whether I was going to cook the stalks, and I thought, no, I'm not going to. So what we do is, this is what you do with chard. You just do that. You pull from the bottom. I'll just get another piece and I'll show you again. You just grab it like that. Pull, pull. And that bit, you can actually use these bits in some very nice recipes, which I think I will put on here as well. Okay, so we've got this chard. I've got this here that I already washed, and I've got about, without the stems, I've got about 100 grams of chard, thereabouts. All right, oh look, and I've got a friend. Hello. Oh, he's moving very quickly. So Mr. Friend went into the compost bin, but this is the chard that I've already washed. So I'm hoping that there's not any more friends in here. If so, it doesn't really matter. So I am just going to chop this up, because otherwise what happens is the leaves behave a little bit like spinach and they'll all clump together. I'm going to chop it up. It's because I've already washed it, it's got already enough moisture on there for it to steam. If you're in a bit of a hurry, you can just boil the jug and put really hot water over the top, and it'll probably do the same thing. But I do like to cook it. So here we go, look. That's all done now. There. Let's just break that one up. All right, and then this is going into a pan behind me. Put it all in here. And then I'm going to put the lid on it. See how wet it is? And cook that until it wilts. So the next step is to make the filling for the centre of the tart, even though I've got half of it cooking behind me. All right, so what have we got? 200 ml of milk. I always like whole milk. I don't really like semi-skimmed, as you can see. Then 80 ml of double cream as well. And then I've got 3 eggs. They don't have to be, they can be just medium-sized eggs. Put them in here, give them a little bit of a slosh together. And they go in there. And then we'll just mix this through. And I'm going to put some salt and pepper. I'm not going to put much salt because we've got salty bacon and we've got Gruyère, which is salty as well. So in actual fact, I think I'm just going to do a couple of little pinches and then some, I like this coarse cracked pepper, and that's going to go in as well. Mr. N's come along and he's put a bit of chilli in the mix, I see. So, chilli, you can, what else did you say, Mr. N?
Garlic.
Put in there? Oh, garlic as well. You can do garlic if you want to. Yeah, but I'm not today. There's that mix. That's done. All right, so the chard is done, and as you can see, when it's cooked like this, it actually turns out quite dry, which is what I like. I don't want excess moisture in this, because if I was to put water over the top, I'd have to be squeezing like mad to get the water out. So, excuse me, because I am left-handed. I've put this now in this lovely bacon and onion mix. And when we're ready, okay, that's it, that switches off now. When we're ready, I'm taking those thyme stalks out. All right, I'm going down to the freezer and I'm going to go and get my pastry. So here it is, out of the freezer. Was in there for 15 minutes in the end, and it is not moving. It's hard. All right, okay, blind baking. Why do we do this, and why is it called blind baking? I think it's called blind baking because there's nothing in it except whatever you're going to do to weight it down. But I'm going to use foil. You can use baking paper as well, baking parchment, but I think I'm going to use foil this time. I kind of, you know, do one or the other. And you just pop this in the actual tart case, like this. And then you get things you can buy these, and they're called baking beads, and they're made out of clay. But I have got a mixture of haricot and I think they're borlotti beans there. I don't know. They were old, and so what I did was I just started using them as blind baking. And so they're used all the time now by me. I just put them back when they're cold again. I put them back in the jar. So pop this in like this. And then when the oven comes up to temperature, the oven is 180 Celsius fan, or 200 if you have a normal oven, or gas mark 5, or is it 6? All right, so here is my pastry case, and I do have to apologise, it was gas mark 6. 180 fan, 200 normal oven Celsius. Now, I've turned the oven down now to 160 for me, which is gas 4, 180 normal oven. All right, I had the beans in, took them out after 15 minutes, and then I put this back into the oven again, and you can see it's just kind of puffed up a little bit on the bottom, but when you feel it, it feels really sandy, and that's when you know it's ready. It's come off here a little bit, but it doesn't matter. I always leave the overhang right until the end, and then I will cut it off. But it feels quite good, no soggy bottoms. So to assemble this tart, it's not difficult. The first thing I'm going to put in is this bacon, chard, shallot, and whatever Mr. N added to the mixture. That will go in. Let's put that behind me, which is great. That looks very, very nice. And then remember the milk we did with the cream and the eggs. Here I've got 60 grams of Gruyère, and I'm just going to do this and pop that into the milk. Give it another stir because it has been sitting there for a bit. That then is poured on top. Let's get every single bit out of that. Ooh, that's hot. Right, and then the rest of the cheese goes on top. Let's just sprinkle that. Beautiful. That's lovely looking, isn't it? Right, this now goes into the new oven setting, and it is going to probably take about 30 to 40 minutes, I'm guessing. So I will let you know how long it takes. All right, here it is, finally. So, 35 minutes cooking, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And then I trimmed the tart and I let it sit for about 10 minutes as well. And we are going to have this with leaves from our garden, salad, a little bit of olive oil and white wine vinegar, and my homemade red currant wine. Cheers. Shall we cut it? Right, let's go in where it's not going to be as crumbly. So I'll just turn it around. And let's cut it. Beautiful. Oh, the smell. It's quite amazing. Let me get a little... There we go, folks. Dinner. What do you think, Mr. N? Oh, it smells great. All right. Mangiare. So, if you like my videos, give me a thumbs up, that'd be fantastic, and subscribe as well, because I also show you where all this stuff comes from in the garden if you're interested. And I will see you next time for What's in Season, I hear you ask. What's in season? What's in season?